Hey guys, in this video I want to talk to you about building a customer experience map. And what this is really just taking the basics that we talk about all the time on this channel one step further. The basics I go over again and again and again are, writing good product descriptions, having good photographs, having a video if possible showing the product you're selling in use, having good product titles, having a good theme if it's a Shopify store, one that's conducive to doing e-commerce. Just, basic everyday ordinary things that are frequently overlooked by people who are so excited and enthusiastic about getting a product listing up that they just completely blow the product listing, or they're using watermarked images that came from AliExpress that look terrible at best, and at worst they're being used by everybody else, so you can't distinguish between your product and an identical same product being sold by 20 other people. These are all things I've covered in other videos, so I'm not going to go over them individually here, but I want to talk to you about the customer experience map. And every major company at some level does a customer experience map. This is not a new concept. It's just one you rarely hear talked about when it comes to e-commerce. But what it is, if you're on the mailing list for a company like, say, Nordstrom's department store or a Saks Fifth Avenue, and I pick those not because they're high-end stores, but because they have a national presence. So no matter where you are in the country or really in the world watching this, you probably have heard of them and have some idea of what I'm talking about. Well, if they send you a piece of direct mail, that piece of direct mail looks nice. It reflects the type of store that they are, which is a high quality, upper tier retail merchant. When you go into one of their stores, that experience continues. You probably actually will see some branding identifiers carry over from the direct mail into the actual brick and mortar store itself. And certainly if they have an online presence, to their online store. So as you look around their store, you will move from department to department, and the merchandise will change, but there will be certain elements there that let you know you haven't left their store and walked into another store. You're still in a Saks Fifth Avenue. You're still in a Nordstrom's. And for that matter, just to bring it down several notches, you could say the same thing, you're still in a Sears, or you're still in a JCPenney if you can find one that's actually still open and hasn't closed yet. But everything about your experience has been thought about. From the very first touch, that every touch that they have with you, starting with the first one, which is the direct mail that showed up in your mailbox, through your entry into the store, the way the store facade looks, the way you move through the store and the way various displays look, the way you interact with their salespeople, their cashiers, the way you exit the store, how they follow up with you with email after your purchase, thanking you for the purchase. All of this makes up the customer experience map, that total experience that your customers have when they do business with you. And the interesting thing about a customer experience template like this is that for the most part, it's a template you can create that will be used over and over and over again. It's not something that has to be recreated for every single customer. So the great thing about that is you have the opportunity to get it right and then just use it again and again. It really doesn't take you much longer to have a fully optimized customer experience than it does for you to have one that's just kind of crappy looking and doesn't really get the job done. So basically this video is me stressing to you once again how important it is to watch the details and to really pay attention to the things that you can change and get them right. If you didn't get them right the first time, certainly when you notice them the second time, take that opportunity to change it and make it the way it's supposed to be. When you're writing a product description, red lines underneath words are not your computer's way of saying, hey, great job. It's your computer's way of saying you have a misspelled word. Okay? Figure it out. I can think of 5,000 ways to figure out how to spell a word. So one of them has got to be available to you. If you're on a computer, I think you can probably think of several ways of your own to find out how to spell that word correctly. So take advantage of that opportunity and spell the words correctly. Go back and double check your punctuation, your capitalization. Make sure that you're using the correct words in the correct places and that those words mean what you think they mean. Do this for your product descriptions. Do this for your product titles. Do it in your ads. The customer experience starts long before they actually make a purchase. It starts with them seeing an ad or being drawn to your product listing or to your Shopify store by whatever means you have out there that's trying to bring people in. Just make sure anything that you put your hands on that you have control over is done to the best of your ability. Make sure it's done properly. If push comes to shove, if you have a Shopify store, go to a Starbucks or go to some other coffee shop one day, sit down, and when people come and sit down at a table near you, say, hey, excuse me, would you mind taking a look at this? And have them look at one of your product listings. And you really want to solicit negative comments. You're not looking to build your ego up. You're looking to find out what they see in your product listing. Do they think it makes sense? Do they find the layout of the page attractive? And you really want to hear the most negative comments they've got. You are the least important person in the world to impress when it comes to a product listing or a Shopify store. The reason being is that you're probably the most unlikely person to ever buy from your own Shopify store. So it's really not your opinion ultimately that counts. It's the customer's opinion. And the more feedback you can get, not only initially when you're setting up a store, but for a long period thereafter, I think that feedback is always extraordinarily important. You may get to a point where you kind of have things nailed down at some time, and maybe that negative feedback is not as important as it once was, but I don't think the need for it ever goes away. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you working in reality, and especially right about the time I start thinking, I've really got this all figured out, it seems like certain trends and certain styles will change. And if it weren't for the fact that I was getting continuous feedback from customers and just people I know who I asked to look over my shoulder, if it wasn't for their constant feedback, my stores might start to seem dated. Some of my listings might look a little bit different because maybe it's just not how the styles are trending right now. So I'm always looking for feedback, and really the negative feedback is far more valuable. So in closing, just think about that overall customer experience, and for an exercise, what I'd like for you to do is, if you have a store or if you have items listed on Amazon or eBay, or if you have a blog, this applies to every type of commerce I can think of. Somehow you are acquiring customers and you are walking them through a process that results in them making a purchase, and then you should be following up with them after the purchase to invite them back to make additional purchases. I want you to walk through that entire process on your own. Be as impartial and as objective as possible, but go through that process on your store. And if you find that you have errors in place, correct those errors. And if you find that some of those steps you're missing completely, maybe you're not doing follow-ups after the sale, maybe your advertising is sporadic and kind of hit and miss, maybe you need to do some things to fill in some holes in your marketing. But definitely go through this process, and go through it again and again. Not necessarily every day, but make sure you go through this thought process and this thought exercise, say once a month or once every couple of months, just to make sure that you're doing everything you're supposed to do. And once again, go back and double check everything. Watch your spelling, watch your grammar, take great pictures. Remember, video sells. Anytime you can show a product being used in video, it's worth 10 pictures on your website. So do all of these things, and you're going to see results build very quickly as you get everything right where it's supposed to be, and you optimize your listings and your store to make it look the way you want it to look. So anyway, if you haven't done so already, please hit like and subscribe. Leave comments below. You definitely should have some comments on this or some thoughts on this. Ask questions, and we'll see you in the next video.